Out of 4 shocking announcement, Kessia Pan is NDC party. I'm assuming in our bro. I will Ghanatube of 4. Where just information Kessia Pan if NDC party. Out 4. Some information where the just 2028 Pan just say NDC party a baby to 4. When I am some my course, I'm assuming in our bro. I will Ghanatube for my court. The good thing, some air course. I will NDC party. Never is here. I will Ghanatube so.
Let's talk about the NDC. I'm quite curious about the names that came up for the polls, and of course, because you put the names out there, what informed the names that you put out for the polls?
No, in fact, the master list is somewhere in the report. We had everybody we can think of as potential candidate. The only person we took away was the incumbent Vice President Jenana, who was there in the last poll. But following the health scare, we believe as posters that we can take care and see what the race looks like. So if you look at the numbers, we have Haruna Idrisu there, Asidin Ketia there, Atifosin there, Lotebra, Ablakwa, Znato Ajiman Rollins, Ufoswan Pofu, Uzitano, Anatete, Eriko Poku, Iwadaku, Alex Mool, Omani Buama, Fifi Kote. We believe these are the lists. And like this, I think another list that we don't know, but I believe that these are the people who may throw their hearts in the ring.
Well, I mean, because of the healthcare, of course, do you think that if the vice president was in this list, the numbers we're seeing with Haruna leading and Asidin Ketia following, do you think that it would have changed in any way at all?
Yes. Yes, in fact, it is because we dropped her. That is the reason why her numbers realigned to Haruna, Asiedu, and Atufosi. Indeed, when she was in the race, she was leading with 25% in the last poll.
Okay. What is accounting Haruna Idrisu to be leading with such significant margin? Though the margin between him and the others are not so wide, what's accounting him to be leading? I see that you see he enjoys both elite and the grassroots support, but what more really is accounting for his leading?
No, Haruna Idrisu is a formidable name in NDC. He's been there for a while, since Atamila's time as minister, Mahama as a minister, minority leader, and so he's a known brand in NDC, and it's very solid support across the rank and file of the party. He is much stronger in the northern region because the northern region as a bloc really sway heavily towards Haruna. Combine that with the bit of support that he has, even in Ashanti region, amongst the MPP people, he is quite doing well in that regard.
Okay, I'm sure that the size will reduce as we move on, and then we may be discussing new data or new numbers a bit later. But let's talk about the shift in government appointees seem to be, departing away from being corrupt. I'm certain that I read right. Even when I read myself, I said, okay, that is some shift. What's accounting to these?
John Dramani Mahama NDC abine say nyame adoma 2028 chese presidential race ni de ebeye butubutu pan wo NDC odofo see anu yesi Haruna Idrisu enche bia na ebeti say yesi Asiedu Nketia huhu bi koso e wo NDC party ni mu say Asiedu Nketia nyame adoma 2028 no ono nso begina say oba beye president e wo Ghana has under the ticket of the NDC odofo sisi anu list ne tenten aba nipa odikan pa na Haruna Idrisu wi Haruna Idrisu fi ono ma na Asiedu Nketia so aba na Julius Debra mu nyina so di echi tintin za not Rollins mu nyina o modofo when e breaking news kese pa e koso NDC party ni ma so be di nyina bre Ghanatube chese NDC party ni mu emu aye butu so chese presidential race ni de Asiedu Nketia ne Haruna Idrisu mu no moda suru chese see John Dramani Mahama no ye yina to nchen kakra inti nodofo bebre na aka se John Dramani Mahama besa ba bi modofo we asem sebe but global info analytics form omo analytics amodi aba no chese Haruna Idrisu Asiedu Nketia omo no moda suru ho no mu nti nyame adoma 2028 no chese sankrofo we na likely say NDC for no omodi omo beba ababe stande NPP aba for we na breaking news kese yakoso amedi ni nyina bre Ghanatube for manko na yentu ansem so mrasisia.
Look, the secret lies in the perception of corruption, perception as a whole in the country. Now, if we look at people's response when it comes to how they perceive corruption in the country today. Most Ghanaians believe that corruption levels is improving, 60%. Only 20% are saying that it's the same, and 30% are saying it's getting worse. Now, if you ask them, do you believe that the current government is doing enough in fighting corruption? 63% are saying yes, they believe they are doing enough to fight corruption, compared to only 23% who are saying that they are not. So this sentiment feeds into the overall perception of corruption index across many public institutions. Even though the ranking may have changed slightly, what we've seen is that every public institution improved in score terms. They didn't perform worse than last time, which means that they are now perceived to be less corrupt, even though some of them are retaining their position. For example, even the police service, even though they retain the number one position, their score dropped by 1.7%. Immigration, they dropped by 7.5%. Judiciary dropped by 6.8%. Tax officials dropped by 7%. Local government reps dropped by almost 11%. The presidency dropped by almost 17%. Ministers dropped by nearly 11%. So there's an overall perception that generally corruption is going down, and that is affecting the way people are seeing the system now.
I mean, a final question before I end this conversation with you would be back to the flag bearership race for both the NPP and then the NDC. I see the demographics. I see that men, of course, dominated the data. What's really going on? Is it that women do not like to engage in these polls? Of course, you made available very comfortable options for them. There's online, there's face-to-face. What's really accounted for women not really engaging into it? Because, again, I see that this data had, the demographics show that the men were more, and even so, the data drilled it down to between 35 to a little over 40, which will be the millennials as well, contributing higher. Why? No, look, if you look at the overall sample, about 42% are female and 58% are male. So it's not very well skewed, even though we could have done better. Okay. Normally, I think women are around 49% and men around 51%. But we can adjust the sample to correct any weighting issues there. Okay. But if you look at the support that they have for various candidates, it differs. For example, if you, let me take a quick look at the MPP race. In fact, we didn't look at the gender, we look at the age in particular. So, yeah, it seems to enjoy support across all age groups. Okay. And then if you come to the NDC race, that is where the race gets a bit tricky because the people are just split. For those who are 18 to 24, they back Asedi Nketia for some reason. And then for those who are 25 to 34, they tend to back Haruna. Those who are 35 to 44, Haruna have a slight edge. 45 to 54, Haruna leads. And then 55 to 64, Mosquito leads. So it's not what should I say? It's not across board for the NDC. It's a mixed match or a mixed bags for the candidates. Is it not because the age difference? I mean, General Mosquito has been in the party for years, and so he's carried his members along from the beginning all the way to this age group. Is it surprising to see that? No, it's not surprising because, in fact, the data shows that if you look at people who voted for John Mahama, about 65% of people who in 2020 went for Mahama prefer the younger candidates. Okay. So between Haruna, Atufosin, Ablakwa, and Zinato, they are getting 65% of the Mahama's vote. It tells you that the country was different direction. Thank you so much, Mr. Danko, for joining us today on Joy News Today. Now, away from the global info analytics, let's do some health stories. The Ghana Medical Association.
Around for when you're breaking news, here, if NDC for catch I'm beginning in a bro, I will Ghanatube say. Sisia no asie do nketia any Haruna Idris na the sea no mother topu. No flag bearership race under the ticket of the NDC no. The sea na kwa koye asie do nketia any Haruna Idris den pam. Ewo Ghana ha che say. We share percentages na Haruna Idris ni asie do nketia no mother so for NDC party na aye butu bebre na aka se John Dramani Mahama bese babium sisi ano Haruna Idisu eno so ni ase di nketia na bebeda sorofo we na yensem a ai deja we NDC party no ma so beji ni nyina brel e wo Ghanatube of ma we fi like no ma subscribe no ma share no ma hit notification bell no so ma se na be a abini abibia do pe content a wo nya ne tempa no atwe no etia wo aha ana me de nsem ni nyina besi e wo Ghanatube wo fo ma kam nyina me da mu nyina ase